All right, we are connected for round two of the RTD News Update and want to connect with you. I was combing through the internet and I saw a couple thoughts of people sharing that Oracle could be the linchpin that sends us down the monetary abyss and all that stuff like that. And I'm like, hold on a second, let's pause, think rationally, let's just calm down and look at the bigger picture of where things have to go and who's all involved and things of that nature. And so I want to share my 2 cents on this as well as point you to some interesting outlays of what's going on here. So other than that, hope everyone's doing well. As always, for those who are plugged in, definitely let me know where you're watching from in the chat. Feel free to hit that thumbs up button, check mark wherever you're watching from so you can always stay plugged in when I decide to pop up and go live or post something that I believe will be worth your while. So as always, it's going to be a good live stream. I'm not sure how long I'll be before you, but I want to make this worth your time. So definitely bless me with a thumbs up real quick. And yeah, we'll go from there. But before I get into the primary subject matter, it hasn't even been a couple of hours, and it looks like silver is not slowing down. So let me just real quick for my people who care. Yeah, this definitely is newsworthy, even though I'm not going to spend much time on it as I refresh my screen. But it looks like it's not going to act right on me, so I'm going to have to go to a different screen. Give me a second here. But looks like we have surpassed $64, people. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting day in the world of precious metals. But it won't let me. It won't pop up, so I'll just give you a snippet. My little graphs won't show up here, but as you can see here, as of right now, we are $64.02, up $3.45 since opening markets here in the Western Hemisphere. But that is not the primary story, so I don't want to spook you with that one. But here is something that caught my attention. Oracle stock crash. Oracle stock plunged 14%, wiping out $105 billion in market cap value in a single session. What's next, and will AI stocks sink? And so as I'm thumbing through some articles, as I mentioned, seeing some headlines, seeing some commentary out there, and a lot of people are equating this event to something bigger that could lead into more of a systemic nature. Great financial crisis was the banking structure, subprime lending, stuff like that. Now there's a lot of concern over the AI bubble and how, if this illusion of prosperity doesn't continue on, then it's going to stand to impact a lot of these tech companies. But then again, that's when you always have Uncle Sam, aka this current administration, to stand in and be the backstop, similar to how our government has decided to take stake in previous tech companies and anything that is considered strategic for the advancement of the agenda. And so Oracle, clearly, Larry Ellison, billionaire, good buddy of this administration. If it worst comes to worst, expect a direct interjection from the administration. So that is to calm your concerns if you had any. But real quick, what I want to share with you is some other things worth touching on. And so here are just some headlines. It says Larry Ellison's $283 billion net worth threatens as Oracle stock collapses. And then it goes into some information as to why that is. And I was actually just looking at their trading here. And when you zoom in here from a technical analysis standpoint, it's a strong sale. And so for people out here who's actually speculating, because there's no such thing as investing really when everything is subject to monetary manipulation. But as you can see here, due to the fact they have way more debt and future obligations than they actually have readily available cash, they're going to need some fresh liquidity themselves to live up to all them promises. And so as you can see here is the market activity from Oracle stock. And so literally, this is what's happening. So within a single day, went from 223 down to 193, and I saw a headline saying that this is the worst crash since the .com. And so if you zoom out, and look at things from the bigger picture, I'm not quite sure it's really all that bad. And so you go back here towards the .com time frame. There's also was a At the peak of it, there was a stock split. And so since then, we've gone on a variety of monetary interjections of all kinds and QE1, 2, 3, all up in here. So as of right now, I can understand how people could be a little concerned given that you see what could be considered a turning over of an overly valued company. PE ratio of 53 lets you know that it is way more, it is priced way more than its initial earnings and valuation in general. But as you can see here, it's a turning over. So is this a big deal? I believe it could be, but because the bigger picture, I would err on the side of caution, not looking at this too much other than what it is on the surface right now. Oracle, they need the cash to live up to obligations, i.e. the whole build out of this AI boom that we're in. And as another way of kind of bringing us full circle, let's not forget how this year started off. What am I referring to? Trump highlights partnership investing $500 billion in AI. And so there you have Mr. Ellison right there next to Sun as well as Altman at the White House talking about the bright future of this golden age that will come about because of AI. And so as a result of that, you better believe it is an invested interest from this administration to make sure they step in if there's any concerns at this bubble deflating at all. And so I talked about this when it came out. And once again, the build out of the technocratic state is at stake. And so it's my suspicion that regardless of what's happening from the market standpoint of the Oracle's valuation, there'll be some help to come in at some point if it gets out of control. So that you can take to the bank, literally. And so as I was thumbing through the Twitter sphere, came across something I thought I would bring your attention as well. Just a little snapshot of what's happening. And it says here, this is from Patient Investor, 42,000 followers. So definitely someone that people value his opinion. And it says here, Oracle currently carries $127 billion in debt with $25 billion due within the 3 years. Despite this, the company is free cash flow negative, operating roughly at $13 billion over the past 12 months. And it is not expected to be free cash flow positive before 2028. And so literally just this map here shows you they got this much readily available in red and cash, and everything else that is tied up in obligations moving forward puts them in a very tight spot. And so hence the idea of there being a lot of uncertainty from the investing community as to whether or not Oracle can live up to expectations. But as I mentioned, given the greater picture of what's going on here, and here's another article here. Oracle shares slide as data center spending mounts. So to build out this AI future that is needed, all of these companies must come together and try to, as we're being told on this side of the pond, outpace China because China's our greatest enemy. We got to make sure that we don't let them get ahead. We got to lead the way and all that stuff like that. It's going to cost. And right now with a overly debt-saturated nation, unless Jerome Powell cuts substantially to the point where it creates an immediate flooding of the system as far as accommodative policy to spur on growth, then this AI bubble is going to have some hiccups along the way, because in order to build all these data centers to power all this technology, there's going to be some injections going to be needed. But when you zoom out and you look at things from the perspective of where this will end up, this is where you get into everything is on course, everything is in place for the technocratic takeover, as I like to call it. And this is not necessarily doom and gloom. This is just real. Like, this is the infrastructure they're building out. I want to point you to another article here that I will link in the video here so that you can get a much better perspective. And this is just not my opinion. This is a news source collaborating with a variety of stuff on the back end and putting it all together in a very visually stimulating way. And so this is it's called authoritarianstack.info. And so here it says how tech billionaires are building a post democratic America and why Europe is next. And so this is where you look at this with an open mind. Don't think about your political affiliations. Don't think about, your favorite this, your favorite that. Let's just look at what is actually taking place and where the money is flowing. Focus on where the funds are flowing and who's behind the funds. And you'll get an understanding as to how this is just could be potentially a hiccup in the road as to the greater picture. So this here talks about government contracts, the public-private partnerships merging with our government, and it's not even just this administration. Biden's the same way, and prior to, and the involvement of all the agencies collaborating and partnering with the private sector to build out this global totalitarian state. And so, give you an idea here, and I'll thumb through it, but I encourage you, I'm going to put this in the video description. Go to this, read it for yourself, and you prove all this wrong. But then, once again, these I consider to be publicly verifiable partnerships that connect the dots. It says, in late July 2025, deep within the Pentagon's bureaucratic machinery, the U.S. Army quietly signed away a piece of its sovereignty. It says a $10 billion contract with Palantir, one of the largest Department of Defense in history, was framed as a move forward in efficiency. It says it consolidated 75 procurement agreements into a single contract. And then it goes on to give the authoritarian tech network, the kingmakers. So these individuals here are some of the key players. So it goes around the horn as to who some of them who they are. And so from Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, SpaceX, Elon Musk, you got Alex Karp, you got Donald Trump Jr., you got J.D. Vance, you got Palmer Luckey, you got David Sachs. And so in the middle are all of the companies and some of the companies that are intertwined in this billionaire establishment of the future they're building out. And so just these names here might be foreign to a lot of people who don't follow it. But if you pay attention to where the funds flow and the contracts that are being signed, you'll see how it's starting to connect together. And so it goes on here. It says J.D. Vance, propelled to vice presidency by $15 million from Peter Thiel, became the face of tech right governance. And so behind him, Thiel's network moved into machinery of the state. And then it goes on to talk more about that. So I'll let you get into reading. But here are some of the transition of the private space individuals into the public space, working for the government. And so here you have Thiel, you have Michael, this guy above here, you got Michael Abadal, you got Gregory, you got Clark. So all these individuals here, they left the previous companies I just showed you, Thiel, Ardro Executive, Palantir, and they are now in positions of power or influence in the government. The White House up here, Secretary of Army here, Federal Chief Information Officer here, and the Chief Information Officer up here as well. So all these individuals went from the private space, now they're working within the government, helping on the back end. So this is a personal pipeline, as it's called. Move on here. Here you have the Army's Executive Innovation Corp. So here you got some individuals here, all connected to the government and the United States Army. So you got, once again, these individuals don't go from that space into the work for the government just for fun because they pay better. Believe me, these guys are billionaires, high net worth, 100 millionaire individuals. You're not going to work for the government just for fun because the pay is good. No, you're going to work with the government because there's a greater plan behind that. And so here it says the pipeline made visible. So we go from an ideology backed by venture capital to state capture to regulation to contracts to infrastructure. So this 6-way pathway here is what this whole visual aid is breaking down. And then it says the capital machine, financial flows from taxpayer dollars to venture capital. Follow the money. So here on the screen, you have U.S. taxpayer to the far left, government, which is the Pentagon Intelligence and the HHS and the Doge. Then you got tech companies, Then you got venture capital. All this connected together. You see the funds. You see the funds flowing down below. Then it goes on deeper. So I'll get into more. So cryptocurrency is a part of this. And then you have the nuclear AI complex. You got SpaceX. You got Enderil. You got Palantir. All these individuals here. And then I'll end this little graph with this here. So here you see the authoritarian tech right network. So this is a network. It's interactive. You hover over somebody. It'll show you their interconnectedness to all of this stuff that I'm talking about. And so just to let you know, here is Larry Ellison. Here's Larry Ellison, the CEO of Oracle. And he's the founder of Stargate LLC, founded Oracle. He's also linked to Elon Musk. And so within these circles here, there's a variety of people connected to all types of things. You got Microsoft, you got Trey Stevens, you got Scott Nolan, you got Bo Hines. So all these names here, they all connected somewhere. And so these dots that are connected here. So watch this. Here's our AI and crypto czar, David Sachs. Look how interconnected he is. Now you can't tell me there's some type of compromising of interests in this little connection here that he has with all these people that are a part of this technocratic takeover. And so J.D. Vance, the vice president, heavily connected. So I can go on and on and on, but that's not what this is for. But to go back to my primary point, Oracle having some fluctuations with their stock prices, Larry Ellison's uber wealthy billionaire, they're not going to let Oracle fail if it came down to it. The government will step in, or some of those buddies in that web will step in to provide support for any type of hiccup that prevents them from building out this AI future that they want to have, because there's a time frame to all this. I believe it has to be up and running and operational fully online with everybody locked in, however they're going to do that, by 2030. And so we got, almost 4 years before this entire infrastructure needs to be built out. So, these are some things that, this is a perspective and an angle that you will not get it from anywhere else, because most people focus on a singular focus that's more user-friendly because it builds their popularity. Whereas on my side, I'm trying to just keep it straight. You don't got to like it because I'm showing you how it's taking place before your very eyes. So this is not a left or right. It's not Democrat, Republic, because at the end of the day, the billionaires are the ones that are building out the future that they want to collaborate with our government on your behalf. So this is just something that I thought was worth your time. And so, as always, if you found value here, which I, definitely, I would assume that, you might have learned something new or got a different perspective to make you think. That's all I'm trying to do is just filter through the noise, as I mentioned, and leave you guys with something to chew. So if you found value, hit that thumbs up, check mark. And, just, keep calm. It's okay. Continue to stack, get your weight up, do what you got to do, just because as of right now, the banking sector is the biggest issue I think we face. And that's why I talked about earlier how JP Morgan got positioned. And as we speak, silver's 64.16. So we could get out of the day about 65 or maybe even more. Who knows? But anyway, this is what is happening. But just thought I would check in real quick. As always, if you want to get that visual aid after this, I'm going to put it beneath this video. Check it out. Go through it. Connect some of the dots. See the interweb of the technocrats and what they're trying to build out and who's who and how much they're spending. And then, once again, that's a great source to use to prove them wrong. But other than that,